The fact that Global Investors Meet Karnataka is currently taking place. Let's listen in to what is happening.
Where we have given up sovereignty, not to lose it, but to strengthen our common will. So I think we need to think of this at a time when people are looking more inwards. We actually need to look more cooperatively. And I know, Shashi, I think you would agree with this. Are we moving towards a rule-based world, or are we moving towards a world of where the rule is of the powerful and they decide? And I think this is one of the major global dilemmas. How do we change that? Well, that's a whole political struggle by nations, but by societies. Within our societies, I believe we can find ways to decentralize power by giving more voice to our citizens. And I think some of the frustrations we see with the growth of demagoguery, I like that word better than populism, is the fact that people feel frustrated. They're not being heard. They are not being involved. So we have been, and I have been involved at the European level in experimentation. How can we design democracy in a different way? Well, it's not so simple to experiment on people. But if we look in the history, we look at our experiences or our different experiences, that is a way to maybe look at pilot projects of what has happened. So in ancient Athens, not everything was good. Women did not have citizenship, slaves were there, but they did have some interesting ideas. One of them was randomly selecting citizens so they would be actually representative of the total population. We call them today mini publics also, and say, okay, we have this problem. Why don't you as citizens give us your view, and this will be good for our politicians to think about.
What they call a focus group today.
Yeah.
Focus groups.
Or a jury selection in America.
Yes, randomly selected, and actually with some power. So what Ireland did, Ireland had a big problem. Well, a big problem. They are a Catholic country, very anti-abortion, religiously at least. But they were worried about what they should do about this issue. The politicians did not want to talk about it because it was very highly controversial and very risky. So they said, let's try a citizens' assembly. They randomly chose a number, I think it was around 200 Irish citizens, randomly, completely randomly. Some of the politicians, parliamentarians were in this group also, and for 6 months they deliberated. They brought in experts, they brought in legal experts, they brought in doctors, they brought in entrepreneurs, and they decided on the issue of abortion, which was very controversial, that yes, they have to change the Constitution and legalize it. That was the proposal from the citizens. That went to a referendum, and it actually changed. So these are new methods of deepening democracy and giving voice to our citizens, and I think this is a way forward. But of course, this also means fighting a lot of the concentrated power, which does not want to give up this power to the citizens. In citizens we trust. If we want a democracy, we first have to, and we want citizens to trust us or our institutions, we first have to trust our citizens.
Yeah.
Well, George, I'd agree with you. And in fact, we too in India, in a more modest way, are also trying your wiki laws approach. Not for every law, but for a handful of laws, particularly on issues that affect the average citizen. For example, the IT laws, the data protection law, and so on. They are putting it up on the website of the ministry and inviting public comments. Now, in practice, in a country like ours, 95% of the population are going to check the ministry's website. So they will get comments only from a certain self-selected class, including NGOs, civil society activists, the people who care. But it's sort of a halfway step towards the kind of thing, citizens' participation, that you're talking about. But having said that, I wonder whether you and I are speaking of a world that may be in the process of being eclipsed. Do you think Mr. Trump believes in leadership beyond borders? He will never accept the proposition. First of all, within his borders, he wants to be absolute, and beyond his borders, he doesn't want anyone to interfere with him. Now, he's quite willing to change his borders. He wants Greenland and Panama and Gaza and God knows what else.
Maybe he wants a borderless world where America is simply one country all over the world. Huh?
I think the problem there is we would outvote him very quickly if that happened to us. But
if he would accept voting.
But jokes apart, I do believe we are witnessing a revival of autocracy, maybe too strong a word, but of leaders who are more determined to exercise clout. And let me give you a couple of variables that you want to think about, George. One is the financial crisis taught us about the vulnerability of national governments and national financial institutions.
All right, that is, of course, Shashi Tharoor also in that important conversation as far as the Karnataka Global Investors Meet 2025 is concerned. We'll get you more excerpts from that, but for the moment, we leave it at that.